The summer sun beat down on Willow Creek, a quiet suburban sprawl where picket fences and manicured lawns whispered of order and pride. But in my backyard, the air was thick with chlorine and rage. Karen Phelps, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, stood at my gate, her manicured nails gripping a clipboard like a weapon, her voice slicing through the hum of cicadas. "That pool," she spat, pointing at the shimmering turquoise oasis I'd spent 3 years saving for, "is on HOA property. It's mine to regulate, and I say it's coming down." Her eyes gleamed with the kind of righteous fury that could only come from a woman who'd made a career out of measuring grass blades. I stood there, towel slung over my shoulder, sweat beading on my neck, and felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just about a pool. This was war. I'd moved to Willow Creek 2 years ago, chasing the American dream, a house, a yard, a place to call my own. The pool was my crown jewel, a labor of love for my daughter, Lily, who'd spent her childhood battling asthma, her tiny lungs wheezing through humid summers. The doctors said swimming could help, so I poured every spare dime into that 20 by 40-foot rectangle of freedom. Every splash Lily made, every giggle that echoed off the water, was worth the overtime shifts and skipped vacations. But Karen, she didn't see a father's sacrifice. She saw a violation of her precious HOA bylaws, a threat to her iron grip on the neighborhood. Karen had been a thorn since day one. She'd fine me for leaving my trash can out an hour past pickup, complain about the shade of my mailbox, too blue, apparently, and once sent a certified letter demanding I trim my oak tree because its leaves dared to fall on her driveway. But this, claiming my pool built entirely on my property, permitted, inspected, and paid for, was hers to control. This was a new low. I tried reasoning with her that first day, my voice calm, my hands raised like I was soothing a rabid dog. "Karen, the property line's clear. The pool's mine. I've got the deeds, the permits, everything." She smirked, her lips a thin slash of coral lipstick. "We'll see about that, Daniel. The HOA has ways." The next morning, I woke to the sound of sirens. 2 police cruisers idled in my driveway, their lights painting my living room red and blue. Lily, 7 years old and all wide-eyed innocence, clutched her stuffed dolphin, her voice trembling. "Daddy, are we in trouble?" I knelt beside her, forcing a smile, my heart pounding like a drum. "No, sweetheart, just a misunderstanding." But as I stepped outside, Karen stood on her lawn, arms crossed, her blonde bob glinting in the sun like a halo she didn't deserve. The cops, a burly officer named Martinez and a younger guy who looked fresh out of the academy, listened as she waved her clipboard, ranting about encroachment and community standards. I handed over my paperwork surveys, permits, the works. Martinez skimmed them, his jaw tight, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, this pool's on his property. There's no case here." Her face flushed crimson, but she didn't back down. "I'll take this to court," she hissed, storming off, her heels clicking like gunfire on the pavement. Days turned into weeks, and the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. Karen's campaign against me escalated. She posted flyers on every lamppost, claiming my pool was a safety hazard and a drain on community resources. She cornered neighbors at the mailbox, spinning tales of how I'd stolen HOA land. Most folks rolled their eyes. Karen's crusades were old news, but a few, like old Mr. Grayson, started giving me the side eye. The tension gnawed at me, a low hum of dread that followed me to work, to bed, to every quiet moment. Lily noticed. She'd swim less, her laughter replaced by questions. "Why does Mrs. Phelps hate us, Daddy?" I'd hug her, the scent of sunscreen and chlorine clinging to her hair, and lie through my teeth. "She doesn't hate us, kiddo. She's just confused." Then came the curveball. One evening, as I grilled burgers on the patio, a stranger knocked on my gate. He was wiry, mid-40s, with a crooked nose and a nervous tick in his left eye. "Name's Eddie," he said, glancing over his shoulder like he expected Karen to materialize. "Used to live here. Before you." Karen pulled the same stunt with me. My burger spatula froze mid-flip. Eddie explained, 5 years ago, Karen had claimed his shed was on HOA land, dragged him through a year of legal hell, and forced him to sell his house just to escape her. She's got no proof, he said, his voice low, urgent. But she's got money and time. Watch your back. He slipped me a faded survey map, his hands trembling, then vanished into the dusk. That night, I pored over the map, its creases smelling of dust and desperation. It confirmed what I already knew, my pool was mine. But Eddie's story lit a fire in me. Karen wasn't just a nuisance. She was a predator. The court date loomed, a gray cloud over our summer. I hired a lawyer, a sharp woman named Claire who smelled faintly of lavender and had a handshake like steel. She warned me Karen's case was flimsy, but her influence wasn't. She's got half the HOA board in her pocket, Claire said, her pen tapping the table like a metronome. But we've got truth and evidence. That's enough. I wasn't so sure. Karen's lawyer, a slick guy with a Rolex and a shark smile, filed motions claiming the pool violated obscure bylaws about aesthetic harmony. It was nonsense, but it dragged things out. Each delay another twist of the knife. My savings dwindled. Lily stopped inviting friends over, too scared of Karen's glares from across the street. At night, I'd lie awake, the hum of the pool filter mocking me, wondering if I'd lose everything. The breaking point came on a humid August evening. I was cleaning the pool, the water lapping softly, when Karen marched over, her phone raised like a grenade. I'm calling the cops again, she shouted. Your pool's draining into my yard. I glanced at her pristine lawn, bone dry, and something in me snapped. Karen, I said, my voice low, trembling with 2 years of pent-up fury. You've got no claim. You've got no proof. You're just a bully who can't stand losing control. Her eyes widened. But before she could fire back, Lily ran out, her small fists clenched. Leave my dad alone, she yelled, her voice cracking, tears streaking her face. Karen froze, her phone lowering an inch. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her eyes, shame. Maybe, but it vanished as fast as it came. She turned and stormed off, leaving the air heavy with silence. Court day arrived, a sweltering morning where the courthouse smelled of stale coffee and polished wood. Karen sat across the room, her pearl necklace gleaming, her lawyer whispering in her ear. Claire presented our case, the deeds, the permits, Eddie's old survey map. The judge, a tired-looking man with gray hair and a no-nonsense stare, barely glanced at Karen's stack of HOA complaints. Then came the surprise. Claire called a witness, Mrs. Delaney, the sweet old widow from down the street, who'd lived in Willow Creek for 30 years. Her voice shook as she testified, her hands twisting a handkerchief. Karen tried to bully me into selling my garden plot years ago, she said. Claimed it was HOA land too. She's been doing this forever. The courtroom buzzed. Karen's face drained of color, her clipboard charm crumbling. The judge's gavel fell like thunder. Case dismissed, he said, his voice dry as dust. Mrs. Phelps, your claims are baseless. You've wasted this court's time and Mr. Thompson's resources. I suggest you review your HOA's boundaries before filing another frivolous suit. A ripple of laughter ran through the room. Neighbors, tired of Karen's reign, couldn't help themselves. Karen stood, her heels wobbling, and fled the courtroom, her coral lipstick smeared from biting her lip. Outside, Martinez, the cop from that first day, leaned against his cruiser, shaking his head with a grin. Told her, he muttered. That night, I threw a pool party. The neighborhood showed up, Mrs. Delaney with her famous lemonade, Eddie with a six-pack and a story about his new life in Arizona. Even Martinez, off-duty, splashing with Lily. The air smelled of charcoal and sunscreen. The water sparkled under string lights, and Lily's laughter rang out, louder than ever. I stood by the grill, a beer in hand, and felt the weight lift. Karen's house was dark, her curtains drawn. Word spread she'd resigned from the HOA. Her kingdom toppled. Justice wasn't just the judge's ruling. It was this moment, this backyard, this pool we'd fought for. Lily swam to the edge, her eyes bright. We won. Daddy, didn't we? I knelt, the concrete warm against my knees, and pulled her close, her wet hair sticking to my shirt. Yeah, kiddo, I said, my voice thick. We won because we didn't give up. And as the stars blinked above, I knew that was the real victory, not just keeping the pool, but showing my daughter that truth and heart could drown out even the loudest bullies.